Hi empaths, welcome to Heart Space Wellness Alliance. Here's my healing room. Let's get started. Hi empaths, welcome back to my healing space. We're going to get into another reading. I think what I'm going to start doing is publishing videos 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. They might not all be readings. I might do another book vlog. I haven't quite decided yet. But that way it's a whole reading. You don't have to wait for a second part. That's what's feeling right to me now. So that's what I'm going to do for now. So any feedback you have around that, please do let me know. Does that feel right to you? But that's what feels right to me right now. So that's what I'm going to do. And that way, if you can't get to the whole reading all at once, YouTube will save where you're at and you can come back to it. Again, I've combined all my cards into a bag, all my oracle cards. So that worked out really well last time. So I'm going to keep that for now too. I think it's starting to come together nicely. And I'm going to continue with the sound healing at the end too, with a little meditation, whatever comes in, right? So I'm going to clear the space, the cards, our auras, the energy of the space, invoking angels, guides, compassionate ancestors, any beings of the light who want to inform this reading for the most concise, accurate, helpful, valuable reading that's priority for the reader to hear at the moment of listening. Nice. That one's so resonant. Never wanted to stop. All right, let's go to the original angel cards to see what the focus is. What's priority to look at right now? Flexibility. Flexibility. Interesting, right? There's a little angel doing yoga. Interesting. You know, sometimes we have this idea that those areas where we're really rigid and certain are those strongest points. And that may not always be true. Where can a healthy dose of flexibility give us more sustainability, more strength? And maybe some freedom from routine or this idea that things have to be a certain way for you to feel okay. Are we able to give up a little bit of control in a certain area where our anxieties might perceive everything will fall apart if it doesn't go this way? And can we look at that aspect or that area of life in our lives as in a more curious way? Well, how is it showing up now? Right? Is our perception based on reality here anyway? Because if there's this rigidity in our mentality or belief system or whatever it is, if there's this rigidity, oftentimes we have to delude ourselves to maintain that position, right? To stretch things into working. So may a healthier approach be to be flexible with, instead of, shaping reality the way we want to see it, right? So we delude ourselves to be okay. What if we did the opposite and found those areas that are really rigid and structured and they need to be this way? That could be exacerbated earth, right? Exacerbated earth can create some kind of obsessive compulsive patterning. To perceive that we're safe, right? To perceive security. Where could a healthy dose of flexibility come into play instead and make us even stronger, right? Because you're already strong, right? This is not a reading for the weak. You're not a weak person. Sensitivity is not weakness either, right? It's about gaining even more strength, gaining even more endurance, even more sustainability in the things we're trying to create here in relationships. What areas can we be flexible on? Right, I'm just going to pull some oracle cards to see what about flexibility? Why is flexibility showing up? More information. It's so funny. So what's really interesting is on the days I set aside to record readings, right? I usually do them all at once. I film it all at one time. On those days, people reach out to me a lot more than normal. I think that I start putting out feelers, I guess, intuitively, and as I prepare to do the work, and I guess maybe people sense that. I don't know. It seems like people need my help on those days. And I tended to have a conversation with a friend that ends up being a reading, right? Content of a reading. And I say that because it's what's coming coming up in the cards is a conversation I had today already with a friend. Interesting. One more to make it even. I might need to get a better bag. It's kind of a big bag. All right, or oddly shaped for the purpose I'm using it for. Okay, so the first card that comes out is let your friends help you. Ask for and accept support from others. And it comes out with stay focused. Stay focused. And because this is from the romance, these are all Doreen Virtue Oracle cards. Because that's from the romance deck, I believe this is about relationship. This is relationship in general, maybe specifically to romantic relationship, understanding biological differences coming into play, which I'm seeing in these cards. The reason that I was saying about the phone call from a friend, I think that was why this card has significance for me as the reader, right? Because maybe the card's indicating it came up in a conversation you had with a friend earlier. That's what's coming to my mind. And it was about the differences biologically between men and women, the male brain biologically and the female brain biologically, and also energies, right? feminine energy shows up in a certain way and masculine energy shows up in a certain way. And what my friend called me about was help not getting triggered in certain instances. And I could see that it was just based on a lack of understanding about these biological differences. And I studied the biological differences of men and women in part to help enrich my relationships with men and to understand myself more, right? Because we don't really know. If we don't know how our brain operates, how can we understand the differences biologically? So I studied it for that reason, as well as just filling in the gaps, right? The blind spots I have as a woman, I have to understand those things that men are going through that I don't perceive or understand because it's different, a different process. So, I think what this card is indicating, stay focused, is the fact that men are single focused beings. They tend to have less of a capacity for multitasking than women do, or the feminine energy, I should say. So my friend called me and was concerned about being ignored, right? Or when the person she's involved with gets internal. And it was really just about this person processing, right? That's how he needs to empty his mind, right? It's not possible for a man to ignore you in that way, not in the same as a woman, right? Not in the same way, because men are taking space and emptying their minds because that's what they need to do, right? They need a reboot, they need to reset. Women don't need that necessarily, not in the same way, right? Our minds are never really empty. We always sort of have something happening there. We're always thinking and focusing on certain things. And we have a capacity to think about love and relationships all the time. So, and men or masculine energy doesn't really have that. Right? They're single focused, where we're diffuse focus. So there might be that misunderstanding happening. So where we might have really high standards for how we need to be treated, we might also have a blind spot here, right? About why something might be happening, and it might be triggering a wound, particularly if we're seeking parental love. Oftentimes on the spiritual path, we're on the spiritual path because we've endured spiritual pain, right? And we're looking to heal that. And spiritual pain has to do with not belonging. And so if there's wounding with our caregivers or parents about feeling unwanted or not good enough or unlovable, whatever it is, and everyone has that perception from time to time, right? It's of the human experience to think I'm not good enough, I will never be loved. Those are human fears. So it's across the board. But if there is significant conflict or a break in the bond in some way, we may find that we're seeking parental love through relationship, which then becomes too heavy, right? It's too heavy to carry that. And we might show up in a way where we give that kind of love, and that can feel smothering. So it's really walking the balance here. The next card that's coming up is admit your true feelings. Be honest with yourself. Only you know what it is that you truly desire. So it's interesting too when you're in a spiritual path, and certainly in this new paradigm of relationship, what is its purpose in your life, right? What is significant relationship and partnership? What is the purpose of it in your life, in your experience, and what does it look like? How does it show up? What feels right for you, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all deal. So while we might be tempted to assume everyone has the same expectation or belief or desires, it's simply not the case. So the more we know ourselves and kind of own what we're looking for and not feel shame around that or judgment around ourselves, the easier it'll be to be open about it. Especially if we work through the wounding, right? Because it looks like engagement. Your love life is ascending to a higher level of commitment. And possibly, if you're already in a significant relationship, ascending to a higher level of understanding of the other, right? More compassion. As we heal wounds, right? The light and love card is coming up too. Your purpose is to bring divine healing light and love to this world. So if part of your purpose is this spiritual path of healing, of bringing light and love to others, we might also have a tendency to do that in our significant relationship. And I'm not saying that's bad, but we also need to be careful about blurring the lines between professional relationship and loving romantic connection, right? Because again, it might be that parental love. And when you're a light worker, you tend to draw in people that have wounds, that are wounded. And you have to know that it's not your job to heal them. In fact, when you make that your responsibility, it also becomes too heavy, and you really might have a lot of resentment build up by taking on more responsibility than the other, because they always have this excuse because they have this wound. If you just have this agreement that that's not yours, it's not yours to carry, sure, you'll be there to support if they need you, but you don't even assume that they need you to be there, right? They can request care, they can request love, and oftentimes we do so non-verbally. We also request space non-verbally, right? So maybe discerning that out. And if you can admit your true feelings, right? It's not like this, I don't really deserve this, so I'm going to pretend I don't have this need, right? Because when I had needs as a child, anytime I expressed a need, I was just seen as a burden or punished, right, for having a need. So I learned to tune that out. So now this person doesn't get needs, right? Or, oh, I got to overcompensate because I know that doesn't work, so I'm just going to provide them so much love whenever they're in this state, right? Not understanding what they're really seeking is space, right? So really just honoring the differences so that you're not building resentment and you're not assuming, right? And you're also not taking things personally that don't have to do with you because of this wound. This wound of having been a burden maybe, or just feeling unaccepted, that you didn't belong, right? The word alien comes in, like just not feeling really that you belong anywhere. So it's really hard pain to carry. Our deepest need is to feel that sense of belonging. In fact, many of us are still looking for it. We're still looking for it in community. We're still looking for it in relationship, even within ourselves. There are aspects of yourself that don't feel like they belong in you. It's crazy to think about, isn't it? How complicated that is. We've actually abandoned and fragmented parts of ourselves. It's crazy. And then we seek integration outside of ourselves when it needs to really happen inside, right? It needs to happen inside. Let go is coming up. This might be letting go of expectations or assumptions or personalizations. As you surrender the need to control, your relaxed energy rapidly attracts your desire. Right? That's the first thing that one of the first things that came up with flexibility. I tuned into flexibility and it came to me that this might be a rigid idea of how things need to be, right? This might be about exacerbated earth, or we have this obsessive compulsive patterning. We might be looking to shift that to gain more flexibility, because the more flexible we can be, that's where we're the strongest, right? Sometimes when the heart breaks and heals together, it can be very, very strong. But when that wound is still tender and it's just sort of scabbed over, it can lead to more discernment, certainly, which is important, but it can also lead to really rigid standards or boundaries, because it's, or we could put a wall up just because we perceive like this hurts and this could hurt. So if you're not showing up in this certain way, I feel out of control and I can't take it. So we might want to look at that. Where is it that you're looking outside of yourself to gain a sense of certainty or peace or comfort, when we need to create that state internally? We need to choose it, commit to it. And that might require more flexibility. It doesn't have to be this certain rigid way for me to be okay. And what will it take for me to shift internally to make that okay, to make that happen? Can I trust myself to handle this? Can you look back and see all that you've come through, those moments where you didn't think you could handle it, those moments where it looked like everything was crumbling and you thought, I'll never recover from this. Can you look back at those moments and see the ones you've overcome already? And just gather those memories up and see how many times you didn't think, you could go on. Those times where it felt like everything was just so much in chaos. You didn't know that you would ever recover, or you were in so much pain. Those times where now you're on the other side and you can look back and can you be in awe of how strong you are, how you came through those times? You were there for yourself. You were even able to be there for others in those times. And maybe that gave you an even stronger sense of purpose that helped you come through. It helped you pull through. And you did get to the other side of that pain. You did get to the other side of that chaos. And you did it over and over and over again. And all you needed to do was walk through it. You didn't need anything outside of yourself. You didn't need anyone to say a specific thing. You didn't need a specific act or token. Nothing outside of you needed to happen. You just had to walk through it. You just had to go through it. And you came out the other side stronger, wiser, more discerning. And maybe you've found people that could step up and support you, right? Your life purpose fully supports you. So maybe you found a support system, or maybe you found that getting more in touch with your purpose of bringing light and love into the world. that as you heal these family issues of this not belonging, of this not being worthy, of being a burden, so you overcompensate by making too much of an effort, right? Maybe there's this imbalance in effort now because you're proving your worth and value. Maybe as you heal this, there won't be so much of an overcompensation. Can we pull that back a little bit? Right? We don't have to change it forever, but just for the moment, pull it back a little bit. Okay, pull it back. Whatever you're putting out there to prove that you deserve to be on this planet, pull it back. Okay, pull it back. Gather it up. Give it to yourself. And can you feel your parents or your caregivers behind you and your whole ancestry behind you and that life force energy flowing through you to the future? Can you see ancestors, both known and unknown, looking at you in awe and amazement as the lineage continues, right? The DNA continues through you, the best of their DNA moves towards the future. Do you notice them looking at you in awe, in love? And can you see their eyes lighting up? It doesn't have to be every single one, but can you just catch the glance or just notice it kind of in your mind's eye, right? Not turning around and looking, but knowing they're there, and there's a few that are just noticing you, acknowledging you. You belong with us. You belong here. In fact, you're our hope. You're our future. We're with you. We're within you. And we're grateful that you're leading us into the future, taking the best of us and making it even better as you continue on into the future. Do you notice those looks of amazement, of wonder, of gratitude? That you're this amazing blessing that was bestowed on them? All that life force flowing through, moving you towards the future, giving you purpose. Purpose here. And feeling it support you. Can that purpose fulfill you instead of the opposite, right? Oftentimes we have this idea, I need to be here to fulfill my purpose. I have to keep going. I have to keep doing. I got to fulfill my purpose. But what if this simple shift of my purpose fulfills me? It's a simple shift, but it can be a powerful one to help you sustain here. And it might originate with this wound, this feeling of not belonging. Did you feel rejected? Did you feel very different? That can be breaking the bond with mother, but it can also be sensing that your parents don't quite get you or understand, and maybe you even scare them because you're so different than either of them, and they kind of don't know what to do with that. And so you're not quite fulfilling their needs. So you sense that you're less valued. Or you're not quite like them, right? And then there's this psychic energy, this tension of, I'm not understood, so I'm not valued. And maybe we're carrying that with us now. And so we've sought a community of like-minded people where we can feel fully accepted. We can let our guard down. We don't have to explain ourselves all the time because we see the world the same way. We feel the world the same way, right? Like empaths. Like healing, this is really going to be the key. Healing wherever this originated, right? That makes us feel compelled to overcompensate what we're giving to prove that we're worthy of being here. And asking what choice, what action, what belief, what thought will bring us peace. Peace. And sometimes that requires letting go of other people's opinions, agendas, learning to trust more fully because we trust ourselves. Because if something comes up that doesn't feel right, we're willing to express it and acknowledge it. Even if at first just to ourselves, just to be like, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to keep watching. Something's not right. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm going to remain focused and see what comes up here. Right? And this overcompensation can show up in relationship. It can show up in work, where we just overgive. It can reside in the sacral chakra, where it can be an exacerbated sacral chakra, which is associated with water. And that's where we might get enmeshed emotionally with others and feel like their emotions and responses are our responsibility to manage. It's just like this unconscious agreement, right? Where we don't know where it originated, but we kind of know where it originated, but it just sort of happens to us. It feels like it's happening to us. What would happen if we had more of a flexible outlook here and just decided, I'm going to pull back here. This isn't my responsibility. My job is to care for my feelings, my emotions, my needs. And that my happiness isn't this person's job and vice versa. Their happiness isn't my job. That's what we create for ourselves. And then we come together and share it. Let's look at what aspect of self and can we do some kind of mindful mind-body workout to work on flexibility. It could be just simple stretching or because that may extend, it can oftentimes extend to our thoughts, our mental approach. When we work on flexibility in the physical body, that can extend. To our thoughts, our thought patterns, our beliefs. What aspect of self wants to take the spotlight here? And tell us a little bit more about why flexibility is coming up. Are you bending over backwards? Are you bending over backwards? Are you bending yourself up into a pretzel? Because it could be the opposite too, right? instead of admitting your true feelings, are you kind of eating your feelings? And instead of feeling internal peace, just trying to create peace outside of you by pleasing. Sometimes we get into that pattern too, right? Where we're too flexible with people, we're too understanding. So it is a balance. It is finding that balance. Finding support, right? Because let your friends help you as well as the support card came out. If it's about belonging, this could be indicative of broken bond with mother or just relationship conflict with mother. It can also be an ancestral wound of not feeling good enough, of not being enough. Can you see in your family line, chances are it's not very far back where it might have started. Okay, so the archetype that's coming up is gossip. Gossip. The light attributes: awakens consideration for the feelings of others, honoring trust. And shadow attributes: thrives on the power of passing on private or secret information, betraying confidences. Gossip. The light attributes again are: awakens consideration for the feelings of others, honoring trust. And then the shadow attributes: thrives on the power of passing on private or secret information, betraying confidences. Yeah, building trust here, honoring trust. And that might require being flexible, right? Particularly as you're navigating change, right? Because that can be a perceived threat to people that know you and love you as you're changing. And how is it necessary to support or to communicate, rather, what's happening in a way that brings clarity and in a way that's compassionate. I always feel like building trust is the most important thing to me, particularly with clients. But it comes up with friendship. It comes up with all kinds of relationships. Trust is just so important to me. It's just such a huge value for me. I think there was a time where I took the approach of, where I was too flexible, and I just took the approach of, I'll just let go of any need or desire or expectation of anybody in my life, because I didn't understand that some people were worthy of being in your inner circle and some aren't. So I just thought it was compassion out of balance. It was empathy out of balance. It was me thinking I had to have extreme empathy for everyone else. And I didn't understand that it included me. So for a long time, what I would do is, the way I would build trust is just have no expectation. And I took a lot of abuse. I took a lot of bad behavior and thought, well, if I just don't expect anything different, I won't hurt myself. It won't hurt when someone gossips about me, right? Or because I used to actually think that. I was like, well, it's better if you talk about me behind my back than come to me and say it directly, because I didn't understand conflict resolution. And that might be something that's coming up too, is being okay with presenting information having conversations that you don't know how it's going to turn out, but being willing to trust yourself and the person you're having the conversation with, being willing to be flexible about navigating a resolution if, a resolution is needed. And to honor your own feelings, right? To honor your own boundaries and to learn what those are. I think for a long time I just thought I'd rather not have any conflict. Right before I had any sort of discernment or empowerment at all, I thought it's better for you to just talk about me behind my back and complain behind my back than present it to me. But I learned that that's just not beneficial for anybody. It's wild to me to think about that, how different I've become. But it was also learning that, not everyone is in your inner circle or worthy of being in your inner circle, and just discerning that. And knowing, the people that are willing to talk about you behind your back in a negative way, complain about you and sort of gossip about you, probably aren't trustworthy, right? You probably shouldn't consider them a close friend. So learning those boundaries too, of like who gets into my inner circle, because you'll also attract, if this is your purpose, part of your purpose, bringing light and love, being a light worker, being a healer of some kind, you might also find that you attract wounded friends. And we get into the cycle of giving all of our resources to these one or two wounded people. And that really inhibits our life purpose of doing that on a larger scale, having the resources to do that. And also, what makes this special then? If you're giving everyone the same treatment, if everyone gets the same level of access, level of treatment, then does this even carry any weight? Does your commitment even carry any weight? Something to think about. Something to think about. And how can we prioritize meeting our own needs so that we're overflowing, we have something to give, and build trust of self, right? That's why we did that little exercise too, of looking back at all those times we pulled through, we came through, we found the way. We came through. I'm going to go to The Alchemical Tarot Renewed by Robert Place and see what tarot cards want to come out. If there's any more information. So many of us just identified as the good girl or the good girl or the good boy, right? And not wanting to make waves, not wanting to get negative attention or be punished. And maybe there's some unconscious beliefs around children are seen and not heard. And so those aspects of self are still very quiet. Feeling unworthy of having needs. And that just proves to be more harmful than helpful. see what tarot cards. Okay. I just feel like when it's been a minute since I've done a reading, so many cards want to come out. It's like crazy. So the first card that comes out is Judgment. And Judgment can be about the resurrection of something from the past, whether it be a past connection, a past life connection, a past life memory, something coming in for karmic resolution, an opportunity from the past. Something from the past creating fertile ground for something in the future. Can you see the resurrection in this card? Resurrection of something from the past. Sometimes that can be a rekindling of a romance from the past. It can be uncovering issues from the past that are resurfacing, or fears from the past that are coming back into play for the opportunity to heal. And also it can be about judgment, something you're judging about yourself or somebody else. The Three of Wands, Three of Staffs, they are in this deck. Three of Staffs from the Alchemical Tarot Renewed by Robert Place, is about being navigated to a new destination. Could be being navigated to smoother waters. Being navigated by following intuition. You see the third eye on the little sailboat there. Allowing your intuition to navigate you. If it'll focus there. Allowing your intuition to navigate you to smoother waters or a new destination, right? Instead of assuming that things always should go the same way. What steps can you take to do something a little different every day so that we get out of this groove and get more into our creative energy, creative flow? I had this wizard-like man come to visit me in all these healing centers in New York I used to work at. He would come and visit me. He was kind of like a spiritual guru to me, took me under his wing. And he would tell me almost every time he would visit me, wear your purse on the opposite side some days, get out the opposite end of the bed sometimes, just do things to change it up, because we get into this routine, and it can stir up creative energy if we just do one thing differently. Right? Because that's also exacerbated Earth, right? The element of Earth that we have to do things the same way. It's so structured and routine that to feel okay, we have to keep that order. We have to keep doing things the same exact format, structure. Well, where are we too rigid there and not allowing for creative forces to flow in? And allowing us, and helping to navigate us, right? Creative with the staffs, creative fire, right? And yet the winds of change, allowing that wind to navigate us. How are we being moved? Where are we being guided, right? Following our intuition too. Right, the third eye's here in the Judgment card too. In the Cloud. So trusting your own instincts and intuition. And then this could be indicative of someone who is in your network, someone you know, through friends, mutual friends, community, like a neighbor, someone who went to the same school as you, or right, you have the same alma mater, or this can also be the World Wide Web, right? The internet. Robert, I took a class with Robert where he explained this deck to a certain extent about the symbols. And I do recall this, he said this can mean the internet, right? Because now there's modern meanings to the cards too. As he definitely used the traditional Rider-Waite deck as inspiration for his decks. But so this resurrection from the past can be something from that we were someone we're networked with, or an opportunity that comes through our network, a former colleague, or someone from the past. Coming back, right? Coming back around, being resurrected. This can also be ancestral, right? Our network, our ancestral lineage, something coming through to be healed through us. And when this is in part your life purpose, you're probably going to be doing some healing, right? You're probably going to be chosen to heal some things. And this is that rigidity we were talking about, right? This 10 of coins, this man who, and all that earth, right? All that earth energy, that exacerbated earth, very rigid, making assumptions, assuming how things should be, constricted, right? You can see the constriction in the forehead, rigid thinking. And this could be about how a relationship should show up, what a relationship should look like. The Four of Wands is traditionally about structure, right? Stability. With the Four, a partnership. This looks like a marriage, right? A marriage union between two passionate partners. Who are both making the effort, who are both focused on each other, right? Interesting how he's barefoot and just cloaked in this cape. It doesn't even look like he has on anything else. And yet he's protecting her with the cape. Very beautiful, man in his masculine energy. Feeling safe and stable. But maybe, there's this sense that in partnership, we should just only be focused on each other. Right? That's what a relationship should look like. Just, I'm all yours and you're all mine, and we don't share. But I do feel like that's why the let your friends help you card comes up, right? Ask for and accept support from others outside of your relationship, right? It's going to be important, particularly with the biological differences, right? If you're a man seeking a woman or a woman seeking a man, it's a little more challenging just because there's differences that we don't acknowledge oftentimes or understand fully. So we think the other is behaving badly because we wouldn't do that, right? Or we wouldn't act like that. So it's hard to understand. But sometimes understanding and acknowledging those biological differences can help us navigate, right? Help us navigate relationship. And not take things so personally, not make it about us. Even though our wounding will get triggered, just knowing that this is my wound, right? If I can admit my true feelings, this is my wounding, this is a tender point. How can I plan for the future to do something better? Or how can I just stay with the feeling instead of feeling like I have to do something to make it better, right? Think about those times you had no choice but to sort of sit with the feelings because there was no outlet. There was no one to turn to. What eventually happened? You navigated through, right? And the emotions eventually find some sort of resolution, right? When we choose peace, we have to navigate how that needs to take place for us internally, right? No one's going to say the exact right thing, or external circumstances will never be perfect, right? We're always waiting for that perfect moment, for the cards to align, and for us to know with certainty. Chances are that's never going to happen. So creating a state of certainty and peace internally by trusting ourselves to navigate this through flexibility. Maybe calling on our creative energy, right? The 5 of staffs, this creative flow, right? Which is, this is 4 of staffs, and then we get to 5. And maybe we're using this as a muse, or maybe we're leaning too heavy on this. So how can we take that creative energy and provide some of that light and love to the world? Since that's our purpose, instead of being so focused on one person. Right? Give some of that to the world. The World card can be indicative of the ending of a cycle. You see the seasons. It could be the end of one of the seasons and a new beginning. Empowerment, blooming, healing. It is change of the seasons right now. We've moved into fall. I don't know. I guess we have. I don't think we've turned the clocks quite yet, but upon filming this. But change of season, change of cycle. So whatever is coming up from the past, whatever is being resurrected here, the reason flexibility came up might be because it's really time to change the paradigm. It's an opportunity to shift what you've done before. And maybe you did something differently. Maybe you handled a situation differently than you ever have before. And that's why this opportunity is even coming in, right? Maybe you decided, you know what, I usually do it do it externally. So maybe you have already taken steps and you went inside and used your feminine energy, right? Whether you're a man, woman, non-binary, gender fluid, whatever gender, this is about energy. So feminine energy, maybe you went inside and used the high priestess, right? Part of you in the 5D to manifest. Used your intuition, used more feminine receptive dynamics to draw something in, to magnetize. Whereas before you might try to come out of yourself and convince, right? Maybe you did go inside. And maybe this person that's coming back around is already communicating with you in the 5D, right? A higher dimension. Maybe you're already in spiritual connection and communication and union. Maybe you're having dreams about this person. I say that because the Hierophant is the masculine counterpart to the high priestess, and they come out right next to each other in this spread. So and the Hierophant does have a masculine and feminine, if this will focus, right on the arms of his throne or whatever that is. Hierophant is kind of like the Pope or a spiritual leader. Masculine energy, right? Whereas this is the feminine counterpart. But they're still both working with spiritual law, with energy dynamics. So they might be sending out signals to each other, maybe through the internet or whatever. Just sending out thoughts, right? Sending out thoughts. And maybe working through some fears. But this is also, this card is about divine intervention, divine order, divine timing, and being in the flow. Do you see how the winds of change are flowing through and navigating here? And the swords are following suit. So this requires flexibility, right? To go with this, because you can't predict this. This is the winds of change. This isn't divine intervention. This is navigating maybe through some fears, combing through fears. What's showing up here, chances are it's fear of the unknown, fear, discomfort with uncertainty and feeling like you just want to be on stable ground, right? You're longing for this stability. And oftentimes that's just not possible because we're wired so differently, and very rarely do two people want exactly the same things. And as you're building trust, you walk through some times of fear, right? And some doubts. And it's how do we handle this conflict that builds the trust? Because conflict will arise. If you're in a close relationship, conflict has arisen, right? You've had opportunities to resolve conflict. How did you navigate that? Did you ignore it? That doesn't unburden it, does it? Were you able to face it head on, shine a light on it, right? Handle it with light and love and work through it, navigate it. So staying focused here might not be what you think, right? Staying focused might not be what you think. It might be about your passion. What are you passionate about? This, I guess it's a salamander, fire lizard, I don't even know. But this totem, this animal spirit is focused on passion. Ace of staffs. Get the symbol right. Ace of staffs, a new beginning. See the 3-leaf clover there growing? Shamrock, I guess. Focused on passion, creative new start. Creativity came up before in this reading, right? Our creativity. What are we here to create? Our purpose. And can we allow our purpose to fulfill us and into a state of overflow so that we have something to offer this relationship? Can we stay focused on purpose? That's why we're here after all. Everything else in support. And not to say our purpose isn't about relationship. It can be part of our purpose too. So that being said, we might be receiving a message. See the little fish as a messenger? This is the Knight of Vessels. Similar to the Page of Cups, who has a little fish in his cup, right? Can symbolize apology, an apology, or just a message, right? Maybe coming from the internet, or I guess could be a text or something. So it could be receiving some kind of message from this past connection that we're networked with. And then Queen of Vessels. Queen of Vessels. Observer of her emotions. A very sensitive empath, right? She's a mermaid. Do you resonate as mermaid? Observing her emotions. Able to manage, maintain. Floating above the deep emotional waters, but knowing she's well prepared to dive deep if she needs to. Definitely a sensitive, empathic person. And maybe when this person left you, they were a knight, right? No matter the gender. But you knew that wasn't quite at your level. And maybe that's part of why the separation had to happen. Or why there was this dissonance for a time as they grew themselves up in some way, or went through a season, went through a cycle. Maybe they just needed another season of growth, right, before they could meet you on a specific level. But there was part of you that always knew this was your person. This was the best choice. Again, your intuition let you know. Do you see the chalice there at the bottom? This is about choice. This is the 7 of Vessels in this deck. And it's about having choices. Perceived and real. Real, you know, perceiving you have a lot of options and choice, but also having legitimate choice and knowing that maybe this person was always special or the best choice for you, right? Or this opportunity, whatever is speaking to you here in the cards. It's something about a choice and knowing that this is the best option for you. And maybe always having this hope that it would come back around. So let's pick a crystal card. We have citrine. Citrine, physical vitality, prosperity, creativity. Resonates with the solar plexus, sacral, and crown chakras. I use it with my solar plexus. I never use it for the others, really. I actually have a light. It's like a yellow. It's very yellow. Looks similar to this. It's a twin cluster. Sometimes called tantric twin, where 2 points in the quartz family, right? 2 points might grow together. And when that happens, it's called a twin cluster or tantric twin formation. And generally happens with the quartz family. And citrine's in the quartz family. So is amethyst, rose quartz, clear quartz. But when when it forms like that, it can be, it can represent, you know, a spiritual union, right? A spiritual partnership coming together. Two people that are destined to be together, counterparts, divine counterparts, right? As we see this divine intervention card coming in. So this is maybe just knowing where to put your focus. Focus on your passion, focus on your purpose, right? Focus on ways that your purpose can fulfill you as opposed to the other way around. We have this idea, and it sounds like a small shift in just verbiage, right? It's just like, that's just a small shift in the way you're saying it. But it's also the difference between caregiving for a parent, right? Which isn't honoring the order of how things want to flow. Which is why we tuned into the ancestors, right? Having life force flow through you. Can your purpose fulfill you? Your purpose wants to be lived through you, right? So it's less about going out and doing and using all of your vitality to fulfill your purpose, and instead allowing that creative force to navigate you, to know that you're here for purpose and that you can be fulfilled by your purpose instead of the opposite way around. It will inform every other area of your life, right? And will help you trust life more, building trust, right? The light attributes of the gossip, honoring trust. Can you trust life? You'll learn to trust more when you've done some healing, right? Some healing around these wounds, particularly with the broken bond. And when you allow life force to flow through you to the present. Sometimes when there is a disorder in the way we're showing up, right? Because we felt obligated to caregive for a parent or to care for their needs, and our needs weren't met, emotional needs, right? Weren't met or otherwise. Life force energy is flowing in the wrong direction. It's sort of just gathering and it's creating irritability. So can we turn and face the proper direction? And look, this is, they're saying creativity here, prosperity, physical vitality, right? These are all symptoms or effects, healing effects of taking your proper place in the family system and allowing your purpose to flow through. Allowing, you know, the purpose of your incarnation to happen through you. And feeling more flexible in your approach. Instead of it has to look like this. Because it will be different for you. How can you honor how it wants to play out? Can you honor divine flow, right? Take control where, in action where that needs to take place. But then also make room and be flexible to the flow. How is it flowing? How does it want to show up? I'm going to pull an essential oils card from the Essential Oil Oracle, or is it Oracle? Essential Oil Cards by Lisa Powers. And see what essential oil wants to show up and inform this reading. Clary Sage. Clary Sage, insight. There is no hope is the trigger statement. True statement is there is a higher purpose, right? There's a higher purpose for this, right? And part of your purpose is to bring light and love here through you. So how can you allow that to navigate through you and fill up your cup? Connect with your higher self and allow to be guided to your higher purpose. As the veil of illusion falls away, you will find your answer. I mean, isn't that what I was saying? Isn't that crazy? The oil of clarity and vision, Clary Sage. It assists individuals in changing their perceptions. It gives courage to see the truth. One of the finest oils for the brow chakra. Clary Sage dispels darkness and illusion, helping individuals to see their limiting belief systems. Clary Sage encourages individuals to remain open to new ideas and new perspectives, right? Crazy. It can assist during a healing crisis when a drastic change of perspective is required. Clary Sage opens the soul to new possibilities and experiences. Yeah. It teaches the spirit how to use its divinely given gifts and is especially helpful in clarifying spiritual vision. It assists in developing the gift of discernment. Clary Sage invites individuals to expand their vision and accept the reality of the spiritual world. Right? The reality of the spiritual world. Great to use for spiritual clarity, intuition, open-mindedness, imagination, spiritual discernment. So if you're feeling spiritually disconnected, hopeless, blocked creatively, confused, or in darkness, Clary Sage might be a great oil to use for insight and for third eye work. It is I believe it's sourced from the flower, I believe. So it has less dermotoxic potential, and women have been using Clary Sage oil, I think, to balance hormones and things for a long time. It's a really great oil. Just see how it works for you, wants to work for you. For me, it can make my cramps bad, so I don't use it that frequently. I'll diffuse it more than I would anoint myself with it, just because of that reason. But it works with different chemistry differently, obviously, as all the oils do. So you just have to know yourself. I think we got it. Let's have one last card to wrap it up. I'm looking at the Life Loves You cards by Louise Hay and Robert Holden. One last affirmation to close up this reading. About flexibility in relationships, allowing life purpose to flow through you and nourish you and navigate you. The Course in Miracles questions come in. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? Right? And allowing those questions to navigate you. What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom? I listen to the wisdom of my heart. Place your hand over your heart. Ask your heart what it wants you to know today. right? The discernment of the heart. So let's do that during the sound meditation. We're going to listen to the wisdom of your heart. So put probably your dominant hand on your heart. Mine's my right hand, or whatever one resonates as giving. They both do both, so you can't make a mistake. But generally, the giving hand is the one we write with, the dominant hand. So go ahead and put that on your heart and just tune in. Tune into the wisdom there. Is there a message for you? Allow your heart to guide you as we meditate with sound. Now just revitalizing the system. with the angel tuning fork. So come back to the room. Deep breaths. Were you able to get any insight, wisdom from your heart? Can you take that in? Good. Well, thanks for taking this journey with me into the wisdom of your heart. Being more flexible, less rigid, and discovering ways that our purpose can fulfill us, right? As we bring more light and love to the world, and attract higher quality connections as we learn to trust ourselves and be more discerning and less reactive as we heal wounds. So I hope you found this valuable and you're resonating. If so, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Share this message with anyone who you feel it might help. If you are looking to have a personal session, that information will be in the description of this video, and other ways to connect with me on social media platforms. Wishing you much light and love as you navigate this new season, right? This new cycle. Congratulations on upping your game here. It's showing up in the cards. I hope this was valuable to you. I will see you in the next reading. Bye, empath.